The old mansion stood silhouetted against the harvest moon. A chilling wind howled like a banshee, whipping fallen leaves into a frenzy. Inside, laughter echoed, punctuated by the clinking of glasses. Thomas, ever the life of the party, raised his glass for a toast, unaware of the envy simmering in the eyes of his three friends. They were gathered to celebrate Thomas's latest business triumph. Jealousy, green and venomous, coiled in the hearts of Alex, Michael, and John. They hatched a plan fueled by greed and resentment. Later that night, under the pale gaze of the moon, they lured Thomas out, his laughter cut short by a cruel twist of fate. The silence that followed was deafening. The deed was done, their secret buried in the cold, hard earth. They left, believing they had buried their sin along with Thomas. Little did they know, some sins refused to stay buried. In the spectral realm, where the veil between life and death thinned, Thomas found himself adrift. Rage, potent and raw, coursed through him, a symphony of betrayal and agony. His soul, once gentle and kind, twisted and contorted, consumed by an insatiable hunger for vengeance. He became one with the shadows, his essence a whisper in the wind, a chill down the spine. The mansion, once filled with his laughter, now echoed with his silent fury. He was the spectre in the mirror, the creak on the stairs, the cold breath on the back of their necks. Their betrayal had birthed a monster, a vengeful spirit tethered to the earthly plane by the weight of their sin. They had taken his life. Now he would take theirs, piece by piece, until his thirst for vengeance was quenched. Days turned into weeks, the memory of Thomas's death a festering wound. The mansion, once a place of warmth and camaraderie, grew cold and oppressive. Alex, the first to succumb to the paranoia, swore he heard whispers in the dead of night. His name hissed like a venomous curse. Michael, plagued by nightmares, saw Thomas's accusing eyes staring back at him from the darkness. Sleep offered no escape, only a deeper descent into madness. John, the most stoic of the three, tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but even he couldn't ignore the growing unease, the feeling of being watched. Their guilt became their jailer, the mansion their prison. Each creak of the floorboard, each gust of wind that rattled the windows sent their hearts racing, their nerves frayed to the breaking point. They were trapped in a nightmare of their own making, haunted by the consequences of their actions. The hauntings escalated, becoming more frequent, more terrifying. Objects moved on their own, doors slammed shut with no explanation. The air grew heavy with the scent of decay, a constant reminder of the grave they had dug for Thomas. One by one, they started to exhibit strange and erratic behavior. Alex, driven to the brink of insanity, swore he saw Thomas's face in every reflection, heard his laughter in the howling wind. He became a recluse in his own room, his fear palpable. Michael, haunted by guilt and paranoia, descended into a spiral of self-destruction. He sought solace in alcohol, trying to drown out the whispers that plagued his waking hours. The once confident businessman became a shadow of his former self. John, desperate for a way out, tried to rationalize the events, to convince himself it was all in their minds. But deep down, he knew the truth. They were being punished for their sins. The mansion had become a crucible, their guilt the fuel for the fire that consumed them. Alex didn't last long. Driven mad by guilt and terror, he took his own life, his screams echoing through the empty halls of the mansion. His death, far from appeasing the vengeful spirit, only fueled its rage. Michael, now utterly unhinged, wandered the mansion in a daze, muttering to himself, his eyes wild with fear. He saw visions of Thomas everywhere, his laughter echoing in his ears, driving him further into the abyss of madness. John, now the sole survivor, was a prisoner in his own home. He barricaded himself in his room, armed with a silver crucifix and a rosary, his only solace the flickering flame of a candle, his prayers a desperate plea for salvation. Section 6. The reckoning nears. One stormy night, as lightning split the sky, Michael had a vision. Thomas, bathed in an eerie light, stood before him, his eyes burning with cold fury. "You will join them," the apparition hissed, his voice a guttural rasp. "Your soul is mine." Panic surged through Michael. He stumbled back, tripping over a rug, his head hitting the fireplace with a sickening thud. As darkness enveloped him, he saw Thomas's face contorted in a grotesque mockery of a smile. John, hearing the commotion, cautiously emerged from his room. The sight that greeted him sent a chill down his spine. Michael lay dead, his eyes wide with terror, his face frozen in a silent scream. The air crackled with an unnatural energy. Section 7. Vengeance Unveiled. John knew he was next. He had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The mansion itself seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, every shadow whispering Thomas's name. He was trapped, awaiting his inevitable fate. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the darkness, John felt a cold presence behind him. Turning slowly, he came face to face with the apparition of Thomas. His eyes, once filled with warmth and laughter, now burned with icy rage. "You took everything from me," the spectre hissed, his voice a hollow whisper that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. "Now it is time for you to pay." Section 8. Finding Peace. John, consumed by guilt and remorse, fell to his knees. He didn't beg for his life. He knew he didn't deserve mercy. Instead, he confessed his sins, pouring out years of suppressed guilt and regret. He spoke of his betrayal, his envy, his shame. As he spoke, a strange calm settled over him. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to lift slightly. The apparition of Thomas flickered, its expression softening, the rage in its eyes dimming. For a moment, John thought he saw a flicker of the old Thomas, the friend he had betrayed. With a sigh that seemed to echo the mourning of the wind, the apparition began to fade, its form dissolving into motes of light. As it disappeared, a sense of peace settled over the room, a palpable release of tension that had been building for months. Section 9. A haunting silence. The mansion, once a place of joy and laughter, now stood empty, its secrets buried deep within its walls. The deaths were ruled as suicides, the authorities baffled by the lack of any logical explanation, but some stories refused to be silenced. Locals whispered tales of strange occurrences, of cold spots and unexplained noises. The mansion remained unsold, a testament to the darkness that had transpired within its walls. And somewhere in the ethereal realm, a soul finally found peace, its thirst for vengeance quenched. But the memory of its suffering lingered, a chilling reminder that some sins cast long shadows and some wrongs can never be fully righted.